Vice City, June 1st, 8:15 p.m. One of those nights where the city's neon glow desperately tries to paint over the darkness, but only manages to make the shadows deeper. My system, it wasn't just seeing shadows. It was screaming. A blood-curdling, digital scream. $350,000, just gone. Evaporated. Like smoke in the relentless Vice City rain. And the source? The digital fingerprint, cold and undeniable, glowing on my screen. It pointed to one name, Michael Ramirez. My best friend. My goddamn partner. He hadn't just used AI. He'd weaponized it. His AI. To drive a digital knife straight into my back. Michael. God, even saying his name now feels like swallowing broken glass. We weren't just colleagues, we were brothers in code, architects of ambition. From a cramped, rented office in some forgotten corner of Port Gellhorn, with nothing but cheap coffee and a shared dream of conquering sovereign capital, the glittering heart of Vice City's financial beast. He was the frontman, the silver-tongued charmer with the tech wizardry to back it up. I was the deep thinker, the AI whisperer, the one who made the impossible algorithms dance. We built an empire on what I believed was unbreakable trust. Foolish. Now, that trust wasn't just broken, it was a crater, a void where our future used to be. And his ambition? It had morphed into a monstrous, silent weapon, pointed right at me. He probably thought his AI bots were flawless, untraceable. A perfect digital crime. But he forgot one crucial variable in his cold calculations, me. And the AI I could build. If he thought this was just another corporate skirmish, he was about to learn how Vice City really plays when the gloves come off. This wasn't business. This was a digital vendetta. GTA style. The initial shock, it was a physical blow, felt like Vice City's notorious humidity had solidified in my lungs. But then, years of training, of dissecting data, kicked in. The analyst, the problem solver, clawed its way to the surface. I dove into the transaction logs, a digital labyrinth Michael's AI had meticulously crafted. This wasn't some clumsy smash and grab. It was disturbingly elegant, a symphony of deception played out in cold, hard code. He'd unleashed AI-driven bots, phantoms in the machine, executing a cascade of nearly invisible short-selling operations. Always at midnight. Always exploiting microsecond market jitters that no human eye could catch, no human hand could act upon. These weren't just random gambles, they were precision strikes. Calculated to subtly bleed our firm's working capital, to warp compound interest accruals into his favor, and to make it all look like unfortunate, but explainable, market volatility. Every stolen dollar, every manipulated calculation, funneled through a dizzying maze of encrypted channels, bouncing between anonymous servers from the glittering towers of downtown Vice City to the shadowy digital vaults supposedly secured in the exclusive enclaves of Leonida Keys. He'd built a fortress of lies with ones and zeros. Every line of decrypted code, every phantom transaction I unraveled, wasn't just a clue, it was another shard of glass twisting in an already open wound. This went far beyond corporate theft. This was personal, visceral. Years of shared dreams, of battling through Vice City's cutthroat market side by side, now felt like a meticulously constructed lie. I could still picture us, younger, hungrier, in that tiny, rented space back in Port Gellhorn, fueled by cheap noodles and the insane belief that we could actually take on the giants of sovereign capital. He'd been the brother I never had. How could that same person orchestrate something so cold, so utterly devoid of loyalty? The evidence was a neon sign screaming his guilt, his digital DNA smeared all over the malicious AI he'd unleashed. A cold, hard fury began to solidify in my chest, displacing the shock, the hurt. My professional ethics demanded justice, accountability. But something deeper, something primal, cried out for more. It cried out for retribution. Sovereign capital would deal with the corporate mess, the SEC, the press. That was their circus. My fight, this was different. This was mano a mano, code against code. Michael had perverted the very essence of AI, a tool for progress, for insight, and twisted it into an instrument of deceit. He'd used his AI as a weapon. Fine. I would forge mine into something more. A shield, yes. But also a scalpel, a spear, a goddamn digital Excalibur. I locked myself away in my personal data haven, my digital forge hidden away from the glittering facade of downtown Vice City. If Michael thought his custom bots were the apex of rogue AI, he was tragically, fatally, mistaken. He hadn't seen what I could do when the stakes were this personal, when the fire of betrayal fueled every keystroke. I began to architect a new entity, a purpose-built AI. Its core directive: hunt, expose, and systematically dismantle every cog in Michael's fraudulent machine. This wasn't just about recouping losses anymore. This was about sending a message, loud and clear, across the digital battleground of Vice City. Even in a world run by algorithms, loyalty had a price. And betrayal? Betrayal would meet its nemesis. I unleashed Nemesis. My custom-built AI, forged in the fires of betrayal and fueled by every bit of my anger, my expertise. This wasn't just a program, it was an extension of my will, a digital bloodhound designed for one purpose: to hunt Michael down in the sprawling, data-rich wilderness of Vice City's networks. Its primary directive was simple: dissect Michael's entire fraudulent operation, identify every compromised account, every phantom trade, and trace every single stolen dollar back to its corrupted source. Nemesis wasn't just running pre-programmed algorithms, it was truly learning, adapting in real time, its neural networks firing, evolving with every microsecond. Michael's AI bots were cunning, designed for stealth and misdirection, using their own form of AI, sophisticated natural language processing of financial news feeds to predict market shifts, execute those illicit midnight trades, and then meticulously erase their digital footprints. They were like ghosts in the machine. But Nemesis was the ghost hunter. It sliced through layers of advanced encryption like they were tissue paper. It sniffed out the irregular patterns at midnight that had become Michael's calling card, the subtle tells his AI couldn't quite hide from a superior intelligence. It began to map his intricate web of deceit, node by corrupted node, with a terrifying, beautiful precision. This was it. AI versus AI. A silent, unseen war waged in the glowing circuits and fiber optic cables buried deep beneath the streets of Vice City. And I was its general. The deeper Nemesis plunged into Michael's digital labyrinth, the uglier the truth became. It was like peeling back layers of a rotten onion. That initial $350,000? It was just bait, a distraction, pocket change in his grand scheme. Michael was running a far more ambitious, far more insidious operation. He wasn't just stealing, he was systematically siphoning funds from dozens of accounts, manipulating our firm's working capital with surgical precision, and creating artificial inflation of asset values across multiple, high-value portfolios. It was a masterpiece of digital deception. Nemesis didn't just find isolated data points, it connected them. It cross-referenced transactions with access logs, communication intercepts, a whisper of encrypted chats with shadowy offshore entities, untraceable shell corporations. It even flagged geolocated digital footprints from Michael's private yacht, the Serafina, docked near his opulent Leonida Keys estate, active during the exact timestamps of several key fraudulent transactions. He was brazen. He was using sophisticated AI not just to execute the fraud, but to predict regulatory checks, to meticulously balance his digital books just enough to avoid immediate detection, like a tightrope walker over a canyon of consequences. He was good, damn good. But Nemesis was relentless. It was learning his patterns, his tells, the very rhythm of his AI's deception. I could almost feel Michael on the other end of the digital void, a flicker of unease, perhaps noticing the subtle countermeasures Nemesis was deploying, the way his normally invisible bots were suddenly encountering unexpected resistance. The walls, woven from pure data, were beginning to close in around him. The deeper Nemesis plunged into Michael's digital labyrinth, the uglier the truth became. It was like peeling back layers of a rotten onion. That initial $350,000? It was just bait, a distraction, pocket change in his grand scheme. Michael was running a far more ambitious, far more insidious operation. He wasn't just stealing, he was systematically siphoning funds from dozens of accounts, manipulating our firm's working capital with surgical precision, and creating artificial inflation of asset values across multiple, high-value portfolios. It was a masterpiece of digital deception. Nemesis didn't just find isolated data points, it connected them. It cross-referenced transactions with access logs, communication intercepts, a whisper of encrypted chats with shadowy offshore entities, untraceable shell corporations. It even flagged geolocated digital footprints from Michael's private yacht, the Serafina, docked near his opulent Leonida Keys estate, active during the exact timestamps of several key fraudulent transactions. He was brazen. He was using sophisticated AI not just to execute the fraud, but to predict regulatory checks, to meticulously balance his digital books just enough to avoid immediate detection, like a tightrope walker over a canyon of consequences. He was good, damn good. But Nemesis was relentless. It was learning his patterns, his tells, the very rhythm of his AI's deception. I could almost feel Michael on the other end of the digital void, a flicker of unease, perhaps noticing the subtle countermeasures Nemesis was deploying, the way his normally invisible bots were suddenly encountering unexpected resistance. The walls, woven from pure data, were beginning to close in around him. The next 48 hours were a blur of adrenaline and cold, calculated preparation. Sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford. Nemesis had assembled a devastating, irrefutable arsenal of evidence, every stolen file, every manipulated transaction, every damning voice log from Michael. I didn't just have data, I had his digital soul, captured and cataloged. I meticulously packaged it all into a presentation, not for a boardroom, but for a public execution. This wasn't about charts and graphs no one would understand, this was about storytelling. Animated visualizations that would clearly show the illicit siphoning of funds, timeline infographics that would starkly document Michael's every criminal action, directly linked to his AI commands. I even had those damning audio snippets of his instructions to his bots, the ones Nemesis had cleverly managed to capture from his compromised systems, ready to play. This presentation wasn't just data, it was a narrative of betrayal, a confession written in ones and zeros, and it was designed to be undeniable, even to the most skeptical eye. As June 2nd approached, the buzz around Sovereign Capital's grand announcement at their new, opulent landmark tower in downtown Vice City grew to a fever pitch. The media, the investors, the city's financial elite, they were all expecting good news, a declaration of record profits, another testament to Michael Ramirez's Midas touch. They had absolutely no idea they were about to witness a meticulously planned digital takedown. The calm before the storm. My storm. Showtime. The landmark tower's main auditorium buzzed with an electric energy, packed to the rafters with Vice City's financial elite, eager journalists. Yeet Ukrainian for there. Another placeholder for a Vice City media outlet, microphones poised, investors clutching their notepads, and a heavy presence of regulatory officials trying to look inconspicuous. Michael Ramirez was in his element, working the room, shaking hands, that million-dollar smile plastered networking, the very picture of confidence and success. He even gave me a curt, almost dismissive nod as I walked past him towards the stage. He had no clue. I took my place at the podium. The lights dimmed slightly. A hush fell over the crowd. I remember taking a deep breath, the spotlight feeling surprisingly cold. And then, I began. Not with corporate platitudes, not with projections of future growth. I started with a simple, chilling statement. Tonight, we're not just here to talk about Sovereign Capital's future. We're here to confront a betrayal that lies at its very core. One by one, the slides I'd prepared, the evidence Nemesis had painstakingly gathered, flashed onto the giant screen behind me. The complex web of illicit transactions, the manipulated liquidity ratios, the siphoned working capital, the artificially inflated asset values, the trail of stolen funds, meticulously traced from Sovereign Capital's accounts, through a labyrinth of shell corporations, all leading directly to Michael's offshore accounts, many based right out of his beloved Leonida Keys. I showed the data logs from his AI bots, the geolocations from his yacht during key fraudulent trades, the exact, damning times of his AI bot activity that perfectly matched his commands. The initial silence in the room slowly morphed into a cacophony of hushed whispers, then audible gasps. I didn't need to look at Michael, I could feel the collective gaze of 1,000 eyes shifting towards him, burning into him. His confident smirk, I imagined, would be dissolving, slide by agonizing slide, into a mask of pure, unadulterated panic. The city was watching, and his carefully constructed world was beginning to shatter. I paused, letting the weight of the evidence sink in. Then, I saw him. Michael, finally on his feet, sputtering, face pale, trying to project outrage, trying to dismiss it all. This is absurd. A fabrication. My systems must have been hacked. John, you're trying to ruin me. His voice, usually so smooth and confident, now cracked with desperation. I simply looked at him, no emotion on my face. A hack, Michael? Are you sure about that? I turned back to the audience, then gestured to the giant screen. Actually, Michael, why don't we ask your AI? Or perhaps, let's see what my AI, Nemesis, found when it paid yours a little visit. And on that screen, the display shifted. It wasn't just static data anymore. Nemesis went live. A clean, elegant interface showed, in real time, Nemesis not only having infiltrated but having achieved full administrative control over key components of Michael's entire fraudulent AI network. As Vice City watched, Nemesis began to systematically reverse one of the smaller, more recent illicit trades Michael's bots had made just the night before, funneling the money back to its rightful account, live, for everyone in that stunned auditorium to witness. The digital trail was undeniable, the AI's actions speaking louder than any denial Michael could muster. I even played one of his encrypted voice notes, captured by Nemesis, his voice, clear as day, instructing his AI to make the usual adjustments, hide the trail, and transfer the profits to account Omega-7. His jaw dropped. The color drained completely from his face. There was no defense. No escape. His own creation, his own digital genius, now a public testament to his guilt, a weapon turned against its master by a superior intelligence. Checkmate. The cameras flashed incessantly, a feeding frenzy, capturing every agonizing moment of his public unraveling. The digital puppeteer had his strings irrevocably cut. The aftermath was swift, brutal, and utterly chaotic. Before the press conference had even officially concluded, before the Q&A could even begin, financial regulators, who had clearly been tipped off or were acting on preset triggers, swarmed the auditorium. They weren't subtle. Sovereign Capital's board members, their faces ashen, were whisked away into emergency lockdown meetings, the shouts of reporters echoing in the marble hallways. And Michael? He didn't even try to run. He just stood there, a broken man amidst the flashing cameras and the cacophony, as security personnel, grim-faced and efficient, politely but firmly escorted him from the room, presumably towards a future filled with lawyers, courtrooms, and iron bars. His empire of lies, so carefully constructed with layers of sophisticated AI, had crumbled into digital dust in the space of an hour. The headlines the next morning, from the Vice City Chronicle to the Leonida Ledger, would be merciless: AI betrayal at Sovereign, Tech Titan's digital deception exposed, Ramirez empire crumbles. My digital revenge was complete. Justice, in its own cold, technological way, had been served. But standing there, amidst the wreckage of a career and a friendship, the victory felt complex. The city had witnessed a reckoning, and the ripples would be felt for a long time to come. In the weeks and months that followed that explosive press conference, Vice City's financial world was profoundly shaken. It was more than just another scandal, it was a wake-up call. Michael Ramirez faced the full, unyielding force of the law. His assets were frozen, his reputation shattered beyond repair, his name becoming a cautionary tale whispered in the boardrooms and trading floors across the city. Sovereign Capital, after weathering the initial devastating storm of bad press and investor panic, began a painful but ultimately necessary overhaul. They were forced to confront the vulnerabilities Michael had exploited. Ironically, many of the new AI-driven security protocols, the more robust firewalls, the ethical oversight systems they implemented, were based on the very architecture of Nemesis, my creation, born from an act of revenge, now serving as a blueprint for protection. My actions, a personal crusade against a deep betrayal, inadvertently forced a citywide, even industry-wide, conversation. A much-needed dialogue about the immense power of artificial intelligence, the fragile nature of trust in our increasingly digital age, and the desperate need for a new, stronger code of ethics to govern those who wield such technological might. The cost of Michael's betrayal had been incredibly high, for him, certainly, and in a way, for the integrity of our entire field. But perhaps, just perhaps, out of those digital ashes, a more vigilant, more ethically conscious Vice City was slowly, cautiously, emerging. As for me, I'm still here in Vice City. Still programming, still building, still fascinated by the endless dance between human ambition and artificial intelligence. But now, my path is lit by a different light. It's about ensuring that this incredible technology serves humanity, elevates us, protects us, and not the other way around. This was my story, a chronicle of betrayal and digital revenge, played out on the neon-lit stage of Vice City, GTA style. A stark reminder, perhaps, that even within the most complex and advanced systems, the human element, our integrity, our choices, or tragic lack thereof, is what truly defines the outcome. So, what do you think of John's journey? Was his digital revenge justified, or did he overstep his bounds? Can you imagine a story like this playing out in our own increasingly AI-driven world? We'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below.
If you enjoyed this deep dive into tech noir and digital justice in Vice City and are eager to see more original stories like this, be sure to give it a like. It helps the ToCopeWell channel a lot. And of course, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the digital unknown or the next story from the edge of tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.